guys, welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for clicking on today's video. So as you can tell by the title, today's video is going to be a review of a new makeup tool, which is the Juno Company microfiber sponges. So that's why I am looking like this. I have done my eyes but nothing on my face because we are going to test out these sponges right here. I have to confess that I had already filmed this video. I had filmed it as a first impressions stroke review, but I really just didn't like the footage. I feel like I just filmed it when I was in a bit of a rush and I want to give you, a good quality video, so I decided to scrap that footage and refilm this again. So this is not going to be a first impressions because I have already used the sponges, but I've only used them once. But also I think I already have some thoughts on the sponges, so I'll be able to give you a little bit more interesting feedback. So there was definitely a lot of beauty community hype around these sponges because they are the first beauty sponges to be made out of microfiber material. Now I have got two of the sponges right here and I've already wet them. So I've got this one here which is called the Fusion Sponge, and this one here which is called the Velvet Sponge. So they're basically built from the same shape as a kind of teardrop beauty sponge. This one, which is the microfiber one, as you can see, still has a round base. It's got the top cut off and then a slant just here on the side, so it looks like that. And then the Velvet Sponge, again, from the teardrop shape, but it's got the bottom cut off, so it's flat here, and then it's got a slant also on the side. So you use these pretty much like you would any other sponge that you have. You immerse them in water and then squeeze out the excess, and then you're left with the sponge. The Fusion one actually grows quite large, but this Velvet one only grows a little bit. And I'll explain a little bit later actually why I like the fact that this one doesn't grow too big, but they do feel very soft and very spongy. So according to Juno Co, because they are microfiber, they don't soak up as much product, and actually they have a claim that they soak up to 50% less product than other beauty sponges do. So that's fantastic because you obviously don't want to go through too much foundation or product that you're using. If this doesn't soak up as much, then you save products, which is great. So I'm going to show you how I use these two sponges on my face. So I'm going to start off with this one right here, which is the Fusion one. I'm just grabbing some foundation, and according to the instructions, you're not supposed to put this straight onto the sponge. You put it onto the back of your hand first. So I've just put one pump onto the back of my hand, and I'm going to use this to apply on my face. The foundation that I'm wearing, by the way, is this one. It's the Rimmel Match Perfection in the shade Deep Chocolate. So I'm going to go in with that round base, and first off just distribute the product around my face, and then go ahead and start working this in. The texture of these sponges is really interesting. So once you squeeze out the water, you really do squeeze out the water. It doesn't feel like you have any water left in the sponge. So it almost feels as though the sponge is dry. So it took me a minute to kind of get used to that kind of sensation and feeling, because of course I'm very used to a traditional beauty sponge. But this really does just feel almost dry. It's very, very soft on the skin. Of course, the little fuzziness of the microfiber means it's really super soft. As you can see, I have just used one pump and that has covered my entire face. I'm getting really nice coverage with that. It's looking well covered, but not cakey. This foundation does have a little bit of dew in it, and I can see, I'm just looking in the little monitor on the side, I can see that that looks quite dewy on the screen. But what I'm going to do is then go ahead and take that flat edge and just go over my face, just in tapping motions, which helps to push the product into the skin. And it's also going to kill some of the shine. It's interesting when you look at this sponge actually up close, because it almost looks as though the product that is on it is very much just sitting right at the top of those little fuzzy hairs. It's not sinking into the product, and even where I used quite a bit for the base, it does just seem as though it's sitting on top, which is great because then of course that means that the product is getting onto your face as opposed to being soaked up in the sponge. It's time for some concealer, and I'm going in with my Colourpop No Filter concealer in the shade Dark 46. I'm just going to put a little bit of that under my eyes as per usual and on those other points on my face. And then I'm picking up now the smaller sponge, which is the velvet sponge, and I'm going to use that little angled side to get in under my eyes. So I mentioned before, I really like the fact that this sponge didn't grow so big, and that's because it fits really nicely under my eye. I don't have to struggle to kind of make sure that the product right in the corner gets blended out. So I can really get all the way up in there. And as well, it's perfect for fitting in between my eyebrows, so I'm not worried about smudging off any eyebrow. So I wet both of these sponges at the same time, and it feels as though this one feels a lot drier than the other one already. It's like the water, I don't know, like evaporates from it or something, I don't know. So there's got to be something in that microfiber technology that means that you get that kind of feeling with this. So to set my under eye, I'm going in with the Colourpop No Filter setting powder, and this is in the shade Medium Deep. So I'm just going to use that same velvet sponge, and I'm just going to dip into the powder here, knock off some of that excess, and then use that to set my under eye. So these sponges can be used on all types of products according to Juno Co. So liquid, cream products, loose powders, as well as pressed powders apparently as well. So really like a multitasking tool. Time for some bronzer as per usual. So I'm going in to my Black Radiance pressed powder in the shade Ebony. Now, if you are into snatching your cheeks to the gods, as in you just went and had surgery, this sponge is everything that you need. I don't typically do this technique unless I'm having like a really glam evening, but this fusion sponge with this slant and this straight edge is perfect for carving out right here. So I am going to attempt this technique right now with you on this sponge. So I'll just put a little bit into the lid right there, and I'm just picking up some of that powder onto the sponge and just brushing off some of the excess. And then because of that flat edge, look, you get such a neat line. So if you are into this whole snatching your cheeks technique, this sponge is everything that you need. Okay, time for some blush, and I am obsessed at the moment with this orange palette by Sleek. I'm just going to dip into those first two matte shades and add some of that colour to my little cheekies. And for highlight, going into that W7 bronzer and just adding that right up at the top of my cheeks, my little nose. For lips, I fancy something quite neutral, so I'm going into Colourpop's Limbo, and I'm going to use that as a lip liner. And then in the centre, going in with this Ultra Satin lip, which is part of the I Love Sarah He and Colourpop collaboration in the shade 951. And I'm just going to use that right in the centre. Time for some setting spray. Okay, I'll be right back to give you my final thoughts on this. Alright, so my final thoughts on these sponges. Yes, I like them. They are different, but I like them. My favourite of the two, I would probably have to say, is this Big Fusion sponge. It was really nice to apply my foundation. It's nice and soft and squidgy, and I love the fact that I could use the different surfaces for different things. So I had the more rounded edge to kind of apply my foundation, and then of course you saw how I used the flat edge to do that whole carving thing, but also I could use this to kind of just remove the dewiness, I guess, from my foundation as well. So I really liked that one. This one was also really good, I do have to say. It didn't grow as big as the other one, which at first I think I was a little bit disappointed, the fact that it didn't grow as much. But in hindsight, I actually like the fact that it doesn't, because it fits perfectly here under your eye. It picked up the powder well and applied it well. I didn't feel like it caked it on too much. And something that I do have to mention, which is a positive of me kind of doing this not as a first impressions, is that these clean really easily. So they are this pale blue colour, and of course get mucky with all the product that you put on them, the powder, the foundation, the whatever. But they cleaned so easily, and I think that's to do with the whole microfiber fabric, because the stuff doesn't really sink, the product doesn't sink in to the sponge, so it doesn't hold onto it. A simple kind of like with soap, regular soap, run it under the tap and they were good to go and basically brand new clean. So that for me was incredible and definitely worth the hype for that. These are available on Cocoon Beauty right now for 1,000 shillings, so head over there and check them out. I think they are great, and if you're interested in trying out a new tool and you want to see how that works, then I think that this is something that would be worth it, especially if you have a headache cleaning your sponges right now. The cleaning bit for me honestly is like ting, added so many points to this. So just on that alone, I would be like, yes. Alright guys, so that brings me to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and share. Please leave me a comment down below and let me know what you think about a fuzzy sponge like this, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!